this effort to Dumbledore, and I think it's something to do with what my naturopath advised I do over time when it came to my rat on the table, is I look at it as he explained to me when I opened my big mouth, saying, you know, your nerding out can help you or it can hurt you. So, just another effort, Dumbledoring out of my head, onto the screen, hopefully into your ears and mind, and I'll take it from there. In an effort to be concise, and I have done a not so good job, to be honest, but as I prep or think about going to church, uh, we'll see. I don't like being too whimsical. I'm trying to be more deliberate. Cutting to the chase, I've made many references to my experience researching Bruce Lee's art of Jeet Kune, or JKD for short. And this is what pervades my mind, whether I want to admit it or not. There's much I owe to it, and I think I've given it a lot of lip service to what I have encountered, what I've experienced, and I can't completely erase it. I think it would be irresponsible to completely erase it out of spite. During my 10 years of research, from the magazine articles I would read while hanging out at the Navy Exchange, and coming across the debate of, I'm not going to go too much into it, concepts versus original, if you know, you know. And not just going through the newsstands at the local Navy Exchange. And I think when I got in tune with the local bookstores, I would look at the martial arts section, particularly Jeet Kune. And with the perusing of the various publications and magazines, hello again. Good to see you guys. I think based on what little I can see, I got a King 6-7 and Sergio saying hello. Hey, appreciate it. And just cutting to the chase again. Among the books I found at this local martial arts supply shop in National City, it's a subsection of San Diego, I came across Tim Tackett's, and he collaborated with Chris Kent. Those were the names in the title, or at least attributed as authors in the textbook. It was called the Junpon/Jeet Kune textbook. And that was kind of one of the ways, and I had seen a lot of books from various authors in the JKD landscape. Paul Vunak being another, Dan Inosanto, because he was in the limelight. And so I have to give credit where it's due. Hey there, hey guys. Hopefully I don't bore you with my JKD history, but that textbook is one of those remaining textbooks in my personal library, likely still in my bedroom in San Diego, or what is termed my bedroom, turned into man cave, thanks to my dad. And so, fast forward into the internet age, particularly when we got broadband and made it easy, and 2000, 2000s, again, I always talk about the wild, wild west of the interwebs and information being a premium. Looks like I see looks like Gray. Hello, good to see you. And it was a different landscape, and I might have touched upon it years ago, not years ago, videos ago, that information was at a premium, and then people were a lot more open when it came to exposing themselves on the interwebs, good, bad, or indifferent. Particularly when I was doing my thing with online gaming. That was a different era in its own, neither here nor there. So, fast forward when things were very open and very transparent, personalities in the Bruce Lee world were more open to giving their info, and I got to converse with some of Bruce Lee's students. Around 02, 03, as I traversed the landscape, I came in contact with, he called this group the Wednesday Night Group, Tim Tackett. Now, I'm trying to get to the chase here. So Tim Tackett had this Wednesday night group where he already had a full-time job, so he wasn't looking to make money off martial arts. That can be commendable on many levels. And his collaboration with Sifu Chris Kent at the time, and I think even to this day, whatever collaboration they could do, they were part of what you would term the old guard, Diddy or Epstein. I'm not going to touch that with a 50-foot pole. So Tim Tackett was very generous in offering his knowledge, and that's one thing. And I got more in tune with his group because the Bruce Lee magazine published in the late 90s. I forget when they stopped publishing that. Let's see. I saw the screenshots. Oh, which screenshots are you talking about? Let's see. Do you... A shorter pole. Oh. Oh, jury's still out on that. I will say, when it comes to Tim Tackett and the generosity of his info giving, you have to give people credit when they don't feel as restrictive with their info. One of the things he mentioned early on in publications, and some of his students echoed that as well. I think one being Louis Berard. I'm trying to remember the names. Jeremy Lynch, very generous with their time. And one of his poignant quotes, "Hello. Looks like Timothy Fulla. How you doing? Speaking of that Timothy, the Timothy Tackett I'm talking about, again, he was a teacher by trade, and so he didn't have a need to charge for tuition. And I was lucky to study under one of his guys, Sean, and so forth. But going back to Tim Tackett and his sayings that I came across in publications, magazines, my day is moving along pretty well on I usually call it, this is my I don't give a fuck day, because when I was doing my 9 to 5, Saturday was a way for me to relax and not care about a thing, probably until Saturday night where I go to church. And that'd be the extent of any kind of work, lifting, any kind of heavy lifting. Sunday would be a pretty busy day, to be honest. Usually in church from 8 a.m. up to maybe 1 p.m. when I help the high schoolers and so forth. Thank you for asking, Timothy. Going back to the Timothy Tackett, who recently passed away towards the middle of October. And one of the things he mentioned in publications and online discussion was, we only have a picture, we only have a slice of the truth. We only get a partial pie. And whether I want to admit I still have my feet in the JKD world, I kind of have it in and I kind of have it out. But because of my paradigm shift, JKD has gotten to a point where it's something very fun to play with. It's not the level of seriousness I once had back in 05 to 08, 2005, 2008. But Tim Tackett's guys still have an influence on me to a degree where they were all about a degree of realism. Let's see. I'm happy. Yes, I am happy. You're free to hold that. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm happy. It's like that Flintstones track, having a gay old time. Yeah, I hope men like me back in the sense that I can be homeboys. I'm not into sausage fests, but I like to be good homeboys with people. I have my JKD brethren. I have my JKD family, my martial arts family. I have God brothers. You're free to hold that. I'll respect your right to say that. Good, bad, or indifferent, true or false, it doesn't bother me. I'll just spin it. I mean, something in scripture saying there's something about brothers dwelling in unity. I'll say that much. Anyway, Tackett said something to the effect of, we only have a piece of the truth. And very much so, as I mentioned about traditions of traditions, that when I study things like my I'll use something real quick in terms of my JKD experience. We always try to take a total picture of things as much as we are able, with the understanding and the inevitability that we'll not get the whole monolithic picture of truth. I don't think we have the mental comprehension or the mental capacity to take on the vast entirety of truth, if that makes sense. And so JKD's influence still resonates with me, although it doesn't manifest itself as largely as my paradigm I'm taking on right now, where a lot of it is pared down and a lot of what I do JKD wise is more play. But what makes it fun is playing with the various mechanical considerations within the JKD framework. So I have to owe a lot to my JKD exposure. And again, going back to the Wednesday night group, I owe much of this focus on realism. I owe much credit to their mentality as well. I remember the early forays in that weekend camp I spent about verbalization. It's not to the level that I do nowadays, and that's not a shade against them. It's just when we look at things, we have to look at what is more probable versus what is possible. And tailoring my training modality around that. But I think it was good I started with Tim Tackett and his guys. I only knew Tim Tackett from his publications, the internet forum he had put together. I don't know if that's still active. It's been a while. Forums aren't what they used to be. They may still be around, but it's not something I frequent anymore. Even computing forums, I don't know. You tell me in the comments. Do you still go on message boards or discussion boards? They used to be a good treasure trove. I don't know about nowadays. It's been a while. But that weekend was enough. I knew he was a solid guy, and he was one that was willing to look critically at what he had done before and course correct. That is one thing when I read his interviews, whether it was in online interviews or in publications, that's where I usually saw it. Is he was looking at what he was doing at the time, and it didn't. I don't know if it took much, but it took one encounter with one of Bruce's students, Bob Bremer, just a discussion working with the guy, and kind of, I don't know if it awakened him, but it challenged him to reevaluate what he was doing. And so that is one thing the JKD mindset had brought on. And I think that's what ultimately Bruce wanted us to work on, is don't just take things for their sake. Don't just follow it blindly, but always be critical about it. Test, evaluate, and see what really works for you. And look at it from every possible angle within your comprehension. That would be my little addition, modification, whatever, is you work with as big of a picture as you can so you can get to the right application. And so very much I owe a lot to my time with Tackett's group, even though it's limited. I'll admit, I wasn't a long-time student of his group. I had worked maybe 3, 4, 5 private lessons with this guy. Oh, I see what you're doing. Thank you for sticking up for me, or I don't know. Like I said, he's free to say that. That's up to him. You know, you respond to the way you're called, I guess. So there's still a lot I owe. I still circle back, and what happens when I left the JKD scene. When I left the JKD scene for as long as I have, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air. It allowed me to breathe and work out my JKD past. Not that I had to come to terms with it, but it does help to take a back seat and reevaluate things emotionless or without emotion, very, very objectively. Appraise it on its merits. And I can go from there. And so when I read dip, I only dip so far. So in other words, I have to give it, going back to my comment, my last impromptu, standing on the shoulders of legends, on the shoulders of giants. So figures in the JKD world, like Chris Kent, whether even though I haven't met him in person, a lot of I'm always in the mode of transfiguring myself. I'll say that. I I am what you would call a water boy. Sadly, Adam Sandler took the cake on that one. I can't claim it, so I'll give him credit. He's the water boy. He spit in the cooler. I'm not that fine a tune of an athlete, but I would consider myself adaptable. Yeah. It's funny when they pose because trans, how, that question there, it's so open-ended, and that's why people get frustrated with me when it comes to how I respond their question with a question. So I'm gonna respond equally vaguely. Trans. I'm always in the midst of transitioning into being a better person. A better person, a better man, better brother, better servant. So, yeah, I'm always in a constant state of translation and transfiguration. I'll say that much. Just like in my martial journey. You know, part of the martial journey is when to use the skills, why, and how would I apply the skills in the right place in the right time. So it's always a transition, particularly when you train it. And I have the luxury to train those transitions. So if that's what you're asking, you're free to hold that belief. That's happy. Sure, I'm happy. Happy that I'm not settled. I'm always in the process of growing. So I got to find the joy, like I mentioned in my little short about finding the joy when I hit that threshold. So I am happy. Or at least providentially, I'm happy. But I pray that I have the unfettered senses to realize it, actualize my happiness. So, yes, you're free to hold that. Yep, that's happiness. That's happy, yo. You're free to hold that. You'll have a freedom to hold what you hold. You're free to respond forever how you were formed. Yeah, they're alright. Imagine Dragons, they're alright. I think that's the name of the band or the track. Yeah, they're okay. I have my musical taste. You know, there is not a lot that impresses me. I'm willing to kick tires. Yeah, I'm willing to kick the tires on certain bands, certain artists. Like I tried kicking the tires on Taylor Swift until her second or third album. So that was years ago. Now I think she's overrated. Or I think the hype is not worth the volume or whatever. The quality does not match the hype. There I go. There, I said it. So, yes. All right. Well, let's see what time it is. Oh, crikey, it's 3:15 Pacific. So, again, thank you again. Thank you for tuning in to my impromptus. Who knows how much longer, because I just signed on to a counseling course. Yeah, talk about that ever-present apple dangling from the tree. With the variety of apples we have, it's very tempting to fill my plate. And I just keep doing it. All right. Peace out, and I'll catch you on the other side.